Students, teachers of Reddit. What's the best? Forgot to turn off the mic story during virtual learning. A girl's mom. Who the frock you on the computer for this early in the morning? And asking the same thing over and over. Teacher. I think your mic is on. When I was doing an online algebra camp, the teacher forgot to turn off his mic while we were supposed to be doing some problems. He said, "I frocking hate math." Not really anything super weird, was in a meeting with my class for the first day of school. And I had forgotten to mute myself. I then proceeded to start noisily baby talking my cat, who was in my lap at the time. Embarrassing. English Zoom call. Teacher was holding us like 15+ minutes after the period had ended. She said something along the lines of, "Keep working arduously." And I responded with, "If she says arduously one more time I'm going to flip a table." I was not on mute. I had to defend my thesis over Zoom and many professors came into the call to watch. My thesis was about immune response in fish to parasites. One professor joined late and forgot to mute her mic and we got treated to this little gem. Shish. Mommy is learning about fish parasites, which is what you'll get if you don't stop peeing in the koi pond. Edit. Thanks for the gold. That's my first. In one of my classes, this girl wrote in the Zoom chat, "This is so frocking boring." Not realizing that the professor could see it. So I have one. I just did 8-hour Zoom calls for 7 weeks training for a new project. On the second week, a man unmutes his call. Farts the longest fart I've ever heard in my life. Then when he finishes, mutes the call. I can see others laughing while muted at his fatal error of thinking he wasn't muted and so he went to mute his call. I found this to be the highlight of the week. But the following week the guy does it again. Honestly, the second time I laughed but then started to wonder if it was some kind of power move. In a math class one was in last year. We were taking a test, which you have to turn your mic on for their way of trying to prevent cheating. Some girl apparently forgot that hers was on and started belting out "Stand By You" by Rachel Platten at the top of her lungs. It went on for the entire song and she was still humming it when I finished the test and left the call. I teach for an online university that requires me to conduct a weekly live session. One morning I was lecturing and a student popped in late. I said, "Hello. Student name. Thanks for joining us." She said, "Don't say my name." Breach. Just before she realized her mic was on and turned it off. I just laughed. GR3 kid stopped in the middle of the class meeting, and took his laptop to the bathroom with him. He sat on the toilet for the rest of the meeting. I was producing a video for some university professors on a specific medical thing for a virtual learning course. I was all set up to shoot the process. And the teachers excused themselves to the next office to regroup and have a chat. I already had their wireless lav mics attached and fed to my camera. So when I sat down at the camera and put on my headphones I immediately heard their conversation. They were criticizing me. Saying they couldn't believe they hired someone so young. Inexperienced in that particular medical field. How I looked. How I asked questions. Etc. Oops. At least I made them a fine video. These days I don't put my headphones on until we're about to shoot. Ironically, my IT teacher forgot to turn off his mic and camera and proceeded to get in a very heated argument on the phone with his ex-girlfriend who he has a kid with. Did I mention that she's also a teacher at our school? Yeah, most awkward 5 minutes of my life before he realized. Last week kid in my brother's class forgot his camera was on during the first class and was smoking a giant gas mask bong on his face during the syllabus review. During my English class, this one girl forgot to mute herself while my teacher was talking. She almost deafened all of us on the Zoom call answering her mother's questions. Her mother, from a distance, "What class are you in?" Her, yelling, "English." Her mother, "Oh. The hot teacher." Her, "Yeah, that guy." Now, even I'll admit my teacher is fairly attractive. But it does take it to another level when you get your own mother involved. Thankfully, our teacher is a chill guy and thought the whole thing was just kind of funny. And kind of just gave a general reminder to the class to keep mics muted. She didn't say anything for the rest of the class. Heard the clapping sound of a kid jerking off. His name lit up and everything. Dude, my one teacher forgot to turn off his camera and his son was changing in the background and the son kept on looking at the camera. In a thermodynamics class, one of the students said, "Holy shit. This is so much. After covering a large set of equations related to fugacity, everyone found it relatable. A student in my class forgot to turn off their mic. Andway heard some background noises. Doors closing, tapping, and because of a display bug, we couldn't see where the noise was from. Then the student started saying crap about the teacher. Oh. Yeah, this is useless. He's just writing on a tablet. Even I could do that. Etc. Everyone heard that. The teacher heard them just insult him. They didn't come back to the classes after that. My teacher got scolded by his wife. Another teacher in school. Because she needed to work and he didn't repair her computer. He was a computer technology teacher and he just keeps saying, "Sorry honey. I forgot. I won't do it again. I promise it will take 2 seconds to fix it." In loop because the wife went on a little rant of how he always forgot things. When he saw the mic was still on he blushed and after a moment of silence just went on with the lesson. Edit. Thanks for the award. Was in training before classes started this year. 200-ish teachers. Only principal and AP were speaking. Teacher has her mic unmuted. Phone rings. Picks it up and says, "Hey, yeah. Just sitting here in another one of these goddamn trainings. I'm a college student. Last semester we had a girl place an entire dinner order over the phone with her mic on while we all tried to tell her that her mic was on. I think she had us muted. She was ordering Mediterranean food. I think she got a chicken gyro." Edit. Thanks for the upvotes. I feel like I ought to mention she was also yelling across the house to ask her mom what she wanted from wherever they were ordering from. Sadly we didn't get to hear the mom's order. Somebody in my class forgot to turn off the mic and started singing along to a song and loudly. Somebody told her and there was this odd whoop noise and then she cut off. I'm not a student, but work in the tech industry. I've been in meetings where people forget to mute themselves on large company calls. With hundreds or thousands of attendees. And we'll hear a fart and then a toilet flush. That's about as interesting as these meetings get though. I had a student's boyfriend. Both college. Walk up behind her on Zoom, reach into her shirt, pull out her breasts, and start doing a little boob dance. She was just laughing and playfully slapping his hands away. This was probably 30 seconds after I had just gone through my whole speech of making sure there was nothing in your browser history. Google search history. Or names of folders that could be embarrassing or offensive. Not virtual. But I was a guest speaker at a music college last year. My mic was still on when I finished. Went backstage and said, "Well, that was frocking horrible." I wasn't called back to speak again. Edit. For those curious of the aftermath. I heard it out of the speakers and an immediate uproar of laughter ensued. I would have laughed had I been a student. But as a working professional it was one of the single most awkward experiences of my life. College student here. This was last semester so it was when we had first switched to all online. I had an 8 a.m. class that was Renaissance through modern art history. Anyway, this kid in the class didn't have his mic muted and he was snoring. Like snoring. My poor professor tried to wake him up. And couldn't. She also had no idea how to mute him or kick him out so we went on with the lecture. After about 5 minutes she finally said, "I can't frocking teach to this." And ended the Zoom meeting. The rest of the semester we used VoiceThread instead. Not a Zoom but when I was a flight attendant. We used handheld mics to give briefings and make announcements. One female passenger got in my friend's face and screamed at her that if her bags were lost or if her golf bag was damaged she would make sure to hold her personally responsible. My friend was pretty shaken not only by the loudness and anger but by the woman's spittle and tried to hold it together to give her departure briefing. Welcome aboard FLTXXX. Service to Orlando. You frocking breach. The entire plane lost it. My friend had forgotten to let go of the key on the side of the mic so all noise was picked up. During a virtual gym class for my high school. A girl forgot to mute herself during a workout and yelled some obscene things very loudly. Not really a mic story. But a friend of mine Facebook stalked a cute guy in their toot. Before realizing she was still screen sharing. My son calls his tablet his fix. Because when I first got it and the battery would die. I'd tell him I was going to fix it. So imagine his pre-K teacher's surprise last spring when he asked me if he could have his fix now that he was done with school. Lol, I cracked up. Held up the fix in question. And explained what he meant. This was work not school. But someone posted a drawing of a Hello Kitty type character on the side of their presentation during a virtual meeting. One of my coworkers mumbled, "Damn. Fat ass." Which, when I looked again, yeah. The character had a pear body shape. It was such a weird thing for someone to say, though my brain just dismissed it as me mishearing it until they panicked a second later and apologized for not being on mute. And then I fully proceeded it. Additional context. Coworker is a 50-plus mother of 3. Not a student teacher. But recently a judge got in mega trouble for not turning off their microphone at the end of a day's hearing. It led to all the parties hearing this judge really insult one of the parties. The matter ended up going to the Court of Appeal. Biley. Org. EU Cases EWCA Civ 202987. HTML. And caused majorly panicked emails throughout the court system. To make matters worse, it was a family case. So lots of emotion to begin with. To make matters even worse, the case was about a dead baby. And questioning if the insulted party, also the mother, did it. That's our worst not turning off the mic story so far. But the pandemic has plenty of time in it yet. It isn't too bad. But during the graduating ceremony for a class, all staff were asked to attend and turn on their mic to clap at certain points so it wouldn't be awkward. One such staff member forgot to turn their mic back off and was heard loudly jokingly insulting her husband and asking for another drink whilst complaining about how long and boring this was. This was broadcast to a whole class, their parents, and anyone else listening. We stuck together and didn't tell anyone who it was. But we all knew. Mute your mics. Edit. Changed berating to more what it actually was. Maybe I used the word wrong. But we're in the UK and that's how we show love. I heard what she was saying, guys. It wasn't abuse. One time in an art class, separate from my school, my dad knocked on my door. It was dead silent at that point. Everyone was working on their projects. I clicked the mute button and yelled, "What?" Turns out my mic was already muted and I turned it on. I startled the entire class and the teacher asked if I was okay. Edit. I know everyone hates these, but WTF, I was not expecting this to happen. And I got my first award? Thank you. Not virtual. But a few years back my roommate was in a chemistry lecture and the professor excused himself and left the room but left the wireless mic on. He proceeded to fart and came back into the lecture hall to see all his students dying of laughter. So we were making our classes as phone call on an app called TeamSpeak, I think. Anyways, I was using my phone to talk and my computer to work and sometimes check Discord. At a point, we were supposed to do some exercise on our own and I left my mic on. My friend sent me a message talking about the fact that he got a girlfriend. So I sent him, "You did it, you crazy son of a breech." Then I wanted to add some emoji. So I tried to edit the message and I hit the text-to-speech button instead. The computer literally yelled, "You crazy son of a breech." I was visiting my best friend during a lecture and she had her mic and video turned off. She then had to join a group discussion and sometimes unmuted herself to contribute something. After that the whole class was supposed to present their results and she supposedly muted herself again. I started venting to her how wasps are considered wild bees even though they have no business being bees because there is holes, and suddenly we hear laughter from her professor and her classmates. She forgot to mute herself. I know it isn't close to answering the question, but I have to share. We recently had a meeting with our whole team where the host forgot to turn off screen sharing. So we all saw him respond positively to a job offer. Funniest thing I've ever seen. Or it would be, if the offer hadn't included the salary. Letting us all know that this grossly incompetent worker was getting paid way more than the rest of us. Still, we were just glad to see him go. This was a conference call for work, but it was a big call with like 12 people and I'm new-ish, so I was really just listening as the senior analysts were discussing something. Call was going on for a while, so I took my laptop into the bathroom with me to take a sit. Flushed the toilet. And everyone just stopped talking. Turns out I didn't mute my mic and everyone just heard a toilet flushing in the middle of a meeting. Luckily no one cared and they all laughed about it, but I was mortified. A student's mother had the habit of standing just off camera and very closely observing her kid. I know this because one time the student forgot to disable the mic. Everyone heard how the mother was coaching the student how to act. Don't look my way. Smile. Pay attention. It was next level helicoptering. Right on the edge of abuse in my opinion. Our school has a good counselor and the student is getting help. All the teachers have been advised to limit contact with the mother and not make waves, lest she withdraw the student or redouble her controlling behavior. I worry about it. During one of the lectures, our cat came into the room and jumped into my lap. I proceeded to tell him how very cute he is and how much I love him, in the stupidly sweetest voice possible because he's the best boy. Then, a full minute or two into me praising the cat, a message popped up from my classmate saying I'm unmuted. I had a mini spook and replied with, "Oh ha ha ha, I was just talking to him," plus a picture of the cat. It was extra awkward because I walk around with a resting breech face and barely talk to anyone when we're at uni. So my classmate later admitted that the only reason no one warned me sooner was because it didn't occur to them that the person with this sweet voice was me. Edit. Paying the cat tax. Not really turn off the mic, but you know that feature of pressing the spacebar to talk? Well, someone in my class was too used to pressing the spacebar to pause a video and mistakenly pressed it to pause the class to speak to someone in their home but would instead say nonsense while the teacher was speaking. This happened several times, by the way. The president of the uni I attended, until 2007, was presenting something with a bunch of other important people. This was being recorded for later upload and right when the pandemic was starting. Around March 2020, his wife appears in the middle of the talk mad as hell telling him to go clean the toilet and that she's not her slave to clean his sit. A few very awkward seconds later he just says, "Maybe we have to edit this out later." Now imagine how viral this must have been. I haven't had any ties to the uni since 2007, yet somehow the video got to my WhatsApp. Edit. And my top comment in 10 years is now about sit, surpassing my previous top comment where I asked about a porn star. Thanks Reddit. Lol, I remember once during English class one forgot to turn off my mic. So obviously I was browsing Reddit during class and giving out low laughs to memes and everyone could hear me. Didn't stop until the teacher told asked what was so funny. Not a mic, but an elementary student left their camera for a moment and the mother walked by naked. Guessing she asked him to leave the room so she could change or something, not realizing the camera was left on. Edit. I just got back on Reddit and saw the reaction. Wow, far and away my highest upvoted comment. Would not have guessed that this one would blow up. Reddit is too thirsty. Professional development. One of my coworkers told her daughter, correctly, "This is such a waste of my time," during our faculty meeting about coming back in safely. Our principal said if we're out sick they'll get a sub. One of the teachers said, "Ain't gonna be no frocking subs." Principal. Did someone say something? Had a student submit a video to me and I could see his mom shirtless in the next room. Well, it happened in one of the classes. The teacher was going through a rough time and the class could feel it. We assured her that we had done our homework and that she could take rest for the time being. She agreed and told she would switch her mic off and sleep for a while. As we did whatever, her husband was right beside her and the mic wasn't turned off. She told, "I am so lucky to have these students," and started sobbing to her husband. We all heard this, but kept quiet to prevent her being embarrassed. She slept well during that time and we sent her a thank you gift collectively. I'm a tutor, and my student forgot to mute themselves before leaving for a 5 minutes break. She had a beautiful conversation with her brother about how much of a cunt I was, and how much I sucked and how poor I looked my house look. Luckily, I always record my tutoring sessions, so I finish as if nothing happened, and sent the clip straight to my supervisor. She got booted off of the tutoring program, as I'm the only tutor advanced enough for her grade that is able to take her. Edit. Spelling. Wouldn't say it's the best, but definitely mildly embarrassing for me. Early morning lecture. Much earlier than I'd been used to getting up during the lockdown experience. Ended up slouched over on the couch listening with my eyes closed. Suddenly get a message from one of my good friends also in the class saying I might want to mute my mic as I'd sort of half fallen asleep and my heavy breathing, light snoring was coming through the microphone a little too loud. I was absolutely mortified. Can't imagine it was exactly pleasing to the ears for anyone in the class at the time. My college class got to hear me tell my dog about how good he is. Edit. Proof of goodness. Not a teacher-student deal, but my mother was in a work call. She does tech stuff with a hospital. Lots of people in it. My cat was up on her desk trying to get attention and meowed this deep loud meow right into her mic. The call proceeded with every time my cat meowed her coworkers would be like, "Good point." Or, "Haven't thought of that." Or like, "Yeah, that sounds right." My mother was so embarrassed but she couldn't get her to leave her alone. My mother entered the room so I switched off the camera and the microphone. I thought. And started talking shit about the teacher with her. After 50 seconds my friend called me and told me that the microphone was on. I didn't say a word to that teacher for months after that. Peas. She was a very bad teacher. I was singing the frocking hamster dance song and left the mic on and everyone spams me the video because the call is released after it is done. It actually happened on Friday. I have to take a training at my new workplace and it's online via Zoom. I had a horrible diarrhea that day and I could barely sit in one place, therefore I turned off the camera and the mic so the instructor didn't see my suffering and turned the mic on when I had to answer a question or something. Accidentally once I forgot to turn it back off and when another diarrhea rush came I started to say something like, "Come on Breach, hurry up, let's go to a break or I will die." I don't know if she heard it but I think so because a couple of minutes after we took a break, someone in our science class didn't realize he was unmuted and called a widely disliked kid the hard RN word. Somehow he didn't even get in trouble. The other day I was in a meeting with approximately 180 people and my mic was still on after I finished speaking and I walked into the kitchen where my dad was eating lunch and he goes, "What's up Breach boy?" Not mine. By a friend once forgot to hit mute on a 100+ attendees conference call while he ordered a Subway sandwich. At every in-person meeting afterwards there was always that specific sandwich waiting for him. Kid's brother got yelled at for watching porn. We heard the video start because it was hooked up to a Bluetooth speaker. Great times. While my professor was giving her lecture, a student started talking to their housemate and said, "This Breach thinks I am paying attention." When the lecture went completely silent, the student followed up with, "Unless you can hear me." I was very frustrated at my schoolwork BC. I had no idea how to do the assignment so in a very strained voice I was like I'm gonna kill myself. I realized the mic was on when the teacher asked if I had a question to ask. Don't think they heard me BC of the way I said it. Strained voice and super fast and all. Edit. Spelling and I also put two of the same words next to each other and I bet you didn't notice it. Pre-planning. After PD faculty meeting. Coworkers in the same room with a hot mic. God. We never learn anything useful in these meetings. They're always pointless. I'm a student, and my teacher was talking to his wife at first. Pretty normal, right? Well, she leaves then he gets on the phone and says, "Yeah honey, my wife just left. Wanna come over?" The entire class went batshit bro. No one is going to have a story nearly as good as Greg Davies. I wasn't the one on class. But my brother. He was in class while I made lunch. But it was my first time making rice on my own. So I asked him if he could go and see if it's done. He didn't hear me. So I screamed at him the same question. He then turned to face me. And screamed, "What? It's not done. Wait a min." And when he looked back at his class, his teacher was telling him to turn down the mic. He almost got an eardrum popped. Sorry if I can't explain it better. English is not my first language. We had a graduation on Zoom for my Air Force Airman Leadership School. Parents were invited to attend and someone's mother came in and, because she was the only one talking, became center stage. She was looking down with the screen way too close. And said the following, "Okay. I think I clicked the right button. I see a little black man in the corner." Huh. What do you mean? Well, if they don't want to hear me talk tell them not to listen. Where the frock is the mute button? Okay. 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 Everyone looks like they're laughing. I must have missed something. She found the mute button but it was still hilarious. Added hilarity for how tense and formal the event was supposed to be. One of my friends was on a Zoom tutor video class when people broke into the tutor's home. Luckily the student knew where they lived and could call the cops for them. Not an accidental unmute. But I thought it's worth telling. I had a student's dad walk in the room behind his kid in nothing but his whitey tighties. Open the fridge and then drink straight out of the gallon of milk for like a good 2 minutes. Big hairy dude too. He knew exactly what he was doing. Once my teacher sent the same task 89 times. My daughter, 6F, pooped and came over to tell me all about it. Not Mike. But a third-grade student's mother walked into frame after getting out of the shower. My district had to send a message out to the parents to make sure that they are properly dressed before walking to frame. Work situation. I asked a question on Zoom from someone and he didn't answer. No video on. I asked again to confirm he was there. Silence. Hello. He then panics and says, "Sorry, I'm peeing. Did I need to know that?" I didn't. Not a student. But in a very important business meeting, the daughter of one of the attendees screamed, "Daddy, I made a po'o. Come clean me." Very cute and funny. Where is my script? With a furious face, didn't realize that mic and video is on. We were doing presentations on ourselves on Google Slides. And this girl that went right after me said that she liked to bake as a hobby. I had forgotten to turn off my mic, and when she said that, I said, "She likes to bake weed brownies." My teacher heard me say that and just smiled, and everyone else started to spam my phone and laugh in the class. I was really embarrassed. I have a different kind of story. And the reason why you have to manually turn your mic camera on off when you join a meeting. Years ago, a sales guy working for Cisco was on the road, so he was alone in a hotel room. I guess he had an 8 a.m. meeting, so the guy joins the WebEx. Then proceeds to lay on his bed, naked, and rock one out, while the whole meeting watched. He gets done and sees all the messages telling him his camera is on. And promptly leaves the meeting. Cisco ends up firing the guy over this, and I believe he ended up suing for invasion of privacy and winning or something like that. So that, kids, is why you have to turn your camera on before every meeting. Or get notified that it's on. My mom was yelling at my sister that she did not feed the dog enough peanut butter and that he needed a whole jar of peanut butter after feeding him a couple spoonfuls, and my teacher just laughed. Edit 1. My mom was a little drunk because lockdown stressed her out. To be clear, she is not an addict either. Online class student here. Probably when your classmate got bored and starting watching YouTube in the middle of sessions on that strict teacher, and entire class got pretty hard warnings since the teacher can sense you immediately when you got bored by switching your attention to other things behind those screen.